Oh, hello. It's me, Johnny the Yellow Sheldon. Look, my eyes do this weird thing. I look over here, they spin around. I just noticed that I do that because I've been filming my goddamn self. Tonight, let's talk about the most blown out, god-awful, broken parts that I've ever seen. I got a box of them. Woo! Turning the camera around. Now, I don't remember exactly what's in here, but it's the collection. Let's see what we have. Hella Garbo, don't throw away, for class. Ooh, drivetrain components that are smoked. I've seen worse. Let's see here. Oh, sweet baby Jesus. Sweet baby Jesus. This is amazing. Ow! The teeth on this track chain ring are needle sharp. So this is a particular danger that fixed gears and single speed can get into. So normally on a derailleur bicycle, a multi-speed bicycle with derailleurs, there is a service limit to the chain rings and cogs because at a certain point, you know, the sort of lackluster tension that the derailleur will impart on the chain will be insufficient, and it will just slip over the worn out teeth. My God! But on a single speed, you know, you have rear facing dropouts usually. Sometimes you have just like horizontal road dropouts. You can just pull the chain back. You just pull the distance between the cog and the chain ring a little further back, and it'll more or less work still. This is a ninja star. This is out of control. Moving on. Made in Italy, broken in the United States. Holy shit. So, you know, what you're looking at here is a normal chain ring. The tooth spacing. Now, see, I'm learning my lesson. Every time I make a loud noise with metal, it cuts the sound out for y'all, so I'm going to try to be quiet as possible while I do this. The cutouts for the teeth are more or less symmetrical front and back. And, you know, the chain is being dragged in this direction as you pedal. And so what wears primarily is this trailing edge here. And so what we see here, let's see, it would have been, wow, this is razor sharp also. This is worn so much that it's almost completely cut through the trailing edge of that tooth, and it appears to be making a new dent. Actually, that's funny. Here's another one. Where are you, lass? Now I remember the worst of them all. Do you see what's happening here? Can you tell what's happening? The wear on this is so extreme that the chain is cutting a new, smaller set of teeth into this poor granny gear. Do you see this? Whoop, this little ridge here? The brutalized roller is wearing this away in such a way that it almost looks like inch pitch now. It's mental. If I remember the story on this one correctly, what the deal was is that a very, very small woman was riding a bike and never really had to stand up on the pedals to get up hills. So her house to where she worked was a very flat stretch of the bike path, and so she just sort of soft pedaled, you know, all 90 pounds of her frame to work and back for years and years and years. And, you know, really, I mean, there's teeth here, right? You could pedal this slowly, softly up a bike trail. It might not skip if you weighed literally 90 pounds. This kind of wear you never see on big people's bikes, because far before it's going to get to the point where it's making itself some new teeth, these are just going to shear off, or the chain will skip off the top, and they'll need some new teeth. So keep dentists happy. Never change your drivetrain components. The neat part about this one is it sticks in the ground when you throw it. Moving on. What else do we have here? Some filthy old chain. So what? So it's a chain. I wonder how worn out it is. This chain, let's see, I want to be on the 0.75 side. Oh, this is the chain. So this is the chain where it is so worn out that it reads as though it's new. So when you have a new chain and you have the chain checker, you stick this probe in and it won't go in because it hasn't stretched at all. Or rather, the rollers have not deformed or become ovalized enough to let it go in. You know, as the chain wears, you'll see it dip down further and further. Usually by the time this side is down, you can just replace your chain, keep going with the same cassette. You flip it over, it's slightly more stretch, and by the time this side goes in, yeah, so I can push it over that roller. By the time this side goes in, you need a new cassette generally also. That's amazing. So this is stretched so much that the chain wear guide reads it as new. That is wonderful. I am glad that we kept that. Ooh, what else? Oh yeah, another utterly brutalized track chain ring. This wowzers. Yeah, not really that much different than the other ones I showed you. Some of them are not there though. I mean, that's fucking mental. All right. Moving right along. More crank sets. This person clearly is a masher. Look at that. In Seattle, with the hills that we have, this person has worn out their biggest chainring completely. It is just dismantled. And their granny gear, totally intact. That is an unusual wear pattern. Oh, let's see. Cranks. Ooh, this is great. I'm going to try to get a good shot of this. This is an example of a completely destroyed and wallowed out square taper crank. So that started life as a square. It's kind of a fucking shamrock shape now. A lot of times you see this, someone's crank will sort of fall off a little bit and they'll keep riding, you know, for a little while to get home and then just tighten it down when they get home. The problem is that, you know, steel, hardened steel bottom bracket spindles are way tougher than the aluminum that they're using in these cranks. And so they will just destroy the walls of these cranks unless they're fully engaged. That's one of the worst I've ever seen. That's one of the ones that, you know, some creative home mechanic keeps falling off. So they'll put like red Loctite on it to sort of keep the bolt in place. So although the bolt can't move, you know, the crank will just be wiggling around like this, loosely on the spindle. The only thing holding it in place is like a welded or Loctited or JB welded bolt. That's pretty awesome. Ooh. A section of rim. If I hold it like this, hey, it's a piece of rim. It looks pretty good. If I hold it like this, focus dummy, do you see how thin the walls have become? So now when you're braking, your rim on a rim brake bike is part of the brake. It's the piece that the brake pads are using as the rotor. I mean, your traditional road brakes are just one big disc brake, where your wheel is the rotor. And hold on, I hear someone stomping up behind me. You guys locking up?
Yeah.
You leaving?
Yeah.
You gonna lock it downstairs? Thank you.
We called the cops off.
Okay.
Sweet.
No cops. A cab. Yeah, so your wheel's a huge disc brake. And there's less than a millimeter of material left in that sidewall. When these go, especially on road bikes, they go catastrophically. You know, you have 100 psi in a tube bearing down here and squishing into here, and they peel like a goddamn orange. The rim splits, peels off, and you know, if you're lucky, it happens in the rear and you simply slam to a stop. If you're exceedingly unlucky and haven't been paying attention, I guess I shouldn't say unlucky, if you're fucking negligent and no one loves you enough to tell you to replace your wheels, the rim will peel off in the front, lock up your fork, and you will go head over heels onto your face, onto the pavement. Hopefully only suffering embarrassment and not a broken neck. Moving on. Oh! This crank is fully borked. Look at that. That is cracked all the way through. You see the same wear of the wallowed out square taper? My guess with this, and again, I don't know the history of this crank, but my guess is that they fucked it up and then just kept tightening it. You know, every few days they would probably tighten the bolt a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. And, you know, the square taper is called that because it's tapered. It's a wedge. So at a certain point, this just blew out and gave up the ghost. But that's a pretty good one. That crack propagates all the way through the entire thing. And you see where it starts. It always starts. Always. Close to the corner there. Where they're, well, technically, like, they're trying to engineer it so it doesn't have a stress riser. You see how they've softened the corners of the square? They're kind of rounded. They're not totally square, but still good enough to blow this one out. Oh, this one is a very strange crack. I don't think I've ever seen a crack quite like this. So in red, you can see it is cracked along the spider and along the crank arm. This might be a manufacturing defect. I have no idea, because look at the taper. Doesn't look like it's been abused. It may have simply been installed one time, but just too tight. You know, Mr. Jesus Gorilla Arms just going ham on this thing. Because, look at that fucking crack. Although, my guess would be, you know, they make tons and tons of aluminum. You forge aluminum, or, you know, if you quote-unquote melt forge it. God, it's campy. So no, this is forged. There can be, like, inclusions and flaws in the aluminum, voids, you know, just any kind of flaw in the aluminum maybe would make the metal not strong enough to take being pressed on, but that's pretty unusual for a campy crank. Shit, for any crank. Ooh, this one's fun. That's how that's supposed to go, right? These two parts come apart. So this is a square taper bottom bracket that has sheared. It's sheared in kind of a strange place, if you ask me. Let's see here. So this is in the frame. Yeah, so this is supported. You know, normally you would expect to see the bottom bracket spindle shear right where it stops being supported as it exits the bearing. Yeah, that's a strange one. And look at how the metal is fractured. I always love looking at the grain structure of broken metal. It's almost like it tells a tale. Looks like it started here, over multiple rotations, sort of worked its way up to here, and then yielded. So I think all of this stuff, the sort of moon-shaped piece that you see here, is what snapped up when it finally gave up the ghost. This would have been painful. This would have not been a fun experience if you snapped your bottom bracket spindle like that. Another crazy rim. That was a flat surface right here. That was a flat surface when it started life. Let's look at it against this. Yeah, I'm seeing daylight through that. Oh look, some disc brake pads. If you ever see sparks flying out the back of your disc brake equipped bike, you might need new brake pads. These are about as bad as I've ever seen them. They presented with no spring. The spring had long since disintegrated and got sucked into the rotor. What's interesting about these is that they are like a knife. They're sharp enough to cut kind of anything, he says, as he fails to cut even a plastic bag. Yeah, there you go. Wild stuff. Yeah, I don't know why these are in there. They're not even that bad. We've seen far worse. Shit, I saw far worse today. But these puppies... You know, this is really one of the wonderful things about disc brakes. You know, you see these blown out rims that I've shown. They are expensive as hell to replace. You kill your rim through negligence or just because you've used it for a long time. You can get a cheap off-the-shelf rim if you like, for probably 50 bucks, maybe up to 100 bucks. If you want something nice built for you, you know, the price skyrockets, doubles, triples. Disc brakes, you could turn your phone up, listen to music as loud as you want, ignore the screeching and sparks coming from the back of your bike, and you know, you bring this to me, and 9 times out of 10 I just go, well, you need a new rotor and you need new pads, and that's it. That's it. Having your parts be removable and modular is an amazing boon. Ooh, wow, this is crazy. Hey, it's a rotor. I don't even know how I'm going to focus this, but... This is the most worn out rotor I've ever seen. I'm gonna get a caliper out and contrast these things. So 0 that thing. So at the thickest point, basically where the brake pad never touched. Come on. We're at like 1.8, 1.9, somewhere in there, millimeters. The part. This is going to be like impossible to measure. Let me get in there. Let me just get all up in there. This is 0.9 millimeters. I don't know if you can see how it goes to a point there. That is 0.9 millimeters. I wonder how hard it would be to snap this off. Yep, here we go. Look at that. Just look at it! Shocking. Beautiful. I love it. There's only a couple more. I hope this video isn't boring, but derailleur. Punk rock pulley teeth. Their hair is fully charged. Oh, I love the play here. Look at this. Rusted in place, threadless headset. Well, I guess we'll just say threadless headset components. There's a spacer, a little bearing centering ring, one of the split ones, and this cap here. So frozen in place were these. They had to be cut apart and split in order to remove them from the frame. You know, more than anything, this brings up, it really pulls into focus how durable and how amazing bicycles are. There's a lot of machines in the world where there's a lot of moving parts. You know, maybe there's some redundancy, but for the most part, one little thing can throw a monkey wrench into the works and fuck everything up. One of the best things about bikes, and what I find so amazing, is that although unsafe, technically, and noisy as hell, and probably uncomfortable to ride, all of these bikes came in more or less working, with the exception of old broken spindle here. Can't really ride a bike. Well, actually, that's not true. You can ride a bike with only one crank arm. One of the monster track races in New York City, this dude Jumbo from, where is he from? Denmark? FixieKing.dk? Anyway, this dude finished the race on a track bike, brakeless track bike, with, if memory serves, his left crank arm was attached. He was pedaling with that. His right crank arm was still attached, but the actual arm had sheared off. So he was, imagine just like a spider and chainring whipping around on the drive side attached to the chain, and this madman crazily spinning his left leg with his right leg tucked up on the frame. That was something to watch. So I guess I'm technically wrong. You can ride a bike with just one crank arm, although this one didn't come in with the well, it seems okay, it's just making a lot of noise. This guy knew what his problem was. Yeah, bikes. More durable than you know. I, for one, am looking forward to being a bicycle overlord in the Mad Maxian nuclear apocalypse future. I tell you what, if you come to my camp, I won't let your bikes get like this. And the ones that do, we'll make cool weapons out of, so we can kill the marauders from Gastown. Good night.